Okay, this video is going to teach you about square roots. I'm going to start with a book definition for square roots because many times when learning math, students go to their math textbook and the definition doesn't make sense to them. We have to use precise language when we explain things in math, and unfortunately the definitions are very confusing then when you're first learning these concepts. So I want to try and make sense out of a math definition of a square root. Math definition of a square root, or a square root of a number n, and right there is where it starts to get confusing when you put that variable in there. Again, that just means any number. So square root of a number n is a number m such that m squared is equal to n. It's confusing when you read it, but this is what it's saying. Let's break this down a little bit. The square root of a number n. First of all, you need to know what the square root symbol looks like. This is the square root symbol. So square root of a number n is means equals a number m, so it is m, such that if I took m and I squared it, it would give me n. That's what that means. So it makes a little more sense if I actually give you a number. So if I took the square root of 36, when you're looking at that, you would say, all right, well, what number when multiplied by itself, which would be the m here, would give me the value inside that radical, the n? And you say, all right, well, I know that if I took 6 and I multiplied it by itself, it would give me 36. So that is the value of the square root of 36. It's whatever number multiplied by itself will give you the number on the inside. Here, try this one. This one you should know. Square root of 144. What number multiplied by itself will give you 144? Hopefully you realize that it is 12. If you wanted to use your calculator, you could. You have the TI 30X2S or something like that, I think is what is on our supply list. If you wanted to use that calculator, you would hit the second key, and then you would go down to the x squared key, which is just to the left of the number 7. And you see right above that x squared in the blue, it shows the square root symbol. So in other words, the second saying, I'm taking the thing that's above it, the choice that's above it. Then in your display, you would get a little square root symbol and a parenthesis. What you want to do is you want to type in 144, and you don't need the closed parenthesis, but I would do it because in the future you may have a lot of stuff inside the radical, and that means that I want to do all the math underneath the radical first, then take the root. And it's just a good habit to enter that. Although it's for one number, you wouldn't need it. Then hit the enter key, and you would see that the square root of 144 is 12. Now, interesting thing is that on your calculator, the x squared and the square root are together. One is the main button, that's the x squared, and then the square root is the second choice, the one above it. The reason that is because these are opposite operations. Something that you need to understand is that roots, or radicals, roots, radicals, square roots, they're all kind of called that. Radicals and exponents are opposite operations, or they undo each other. That's an important concept for you to get. The reason that's an important concept is because we're going to be solving equations that involve exponents or involve radicals, and so the way that you're going to solve them, just like we have all other equations, is by doing opposite operations. And so you want to understand that these things are opposites of each other. Now, an interesting case that I want to point out is when you have a number out in front. If I have 2 square root of 49. What that means, you got to look at the square root symbol as a bracketing symbol, like parentheses or brackets or braces. You would do everything on the inside first, and anything that's written on the outside means multiply by that. But I need to do what's on the inside first. So this is 2 times the square root of 49. The square root of 49 is 7, so this means 2 times 7, which is 14. What if, I want you to try this one, tell me what you think it would be. Square root And in here I'm going to put in 100, but on the outside I'm just going to do this. Now I want you to pause the video, write down what you think the answer is, and then play it. This means the negative 1 times the square root of 100. Square root of 100 is 10 times negative 1. It's negative 10. All right, moving on. A perfect square is a number that is the square of an integer. Okay, that sounds a little confusing too. But what that means is if you took, let me give you examples. If you took an integer, we'll start with 1. And you squared it, or you multiplied it by itself. 1 times 1 is 1. Then you went to 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And then you went to 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And then you went to 4. 4 times 4, or 4 squared, is 16. 5 is 25, 36, 49, and it goes on. These numbers are called perfect squares. Okay, next. A radical expression is an expression that involves a radical sign. We got to remember what the term expression means. That just means that you have numbers, possibly variables, operations, and you are doing things to it in order to find the answer, or simplifying it in order to find the answer. It does not involve an equal sign, though. When you put an equal sign, then it's an equation. So this is a radical expression. And you're just simplifying it, but it would involve a radical sign. It's the only difference. So if I said, for example, evaluate, which is going to mean simplify, or find the answer to, however you want to look at it, 2 times the square root of a plus b squared. Then I would have to give you the values of these, which I will, when a is equal to 11 and b is equal to 5. What I want you to do is pause the video and then try and solve this. Think about what you have to do and try and solve it. If you have no idea, just play it through. All right, hopefully you realize that the first thing you should do is substitute. That's always what we do first when we have problems like this. So a is 11, and then b squared means 5 squared. Now again, the radical sign you can look at as a grouping symbol. You need to do everything on the inside first. So I have 2 times 11 plus 25, because that's what 5 squared is. This is 2 times the square root of 36. Square root of 36 is 6, so I have 2 times 6, and the answer is 12. Hopefully you got that one. All right, let's try some in equation form. If I said solve the following equation, x squared is equal to 9. When you have this, remember that radicals, square roots, and exponents, they're opposites of each other. So square root is the opposite of something being squared. The cube root is the opposite of something being cubed. And it goes on and on and on. We are dealing only with square roots here. So if I have x squared and I want to know what is x, I would take the square root of both sides. Remember that that x squared is the same thing as x times x. So what number would, or what value would x be, or what? I'm not coming out. This is not coming out well. It's going to be x. Just like here, the square root of 9 is 3 times 3, and the value then is 3. That would not come out well. I'm sorry about that. But what you want to do is you take the square root to solve a problem like that. Now, if you have a larger problem, let's try this one. 2x squared plus 3 is equal to 21. And you want to solve that. You would solve it exactly like you've done other equations. This is like the two-step equations we've done before, except now you're going to get down to the end and you're going to have x squared is equal to something, and you have to take the root. I want you to try this problem. So pause the video, try the problem, and then play it. Okay. First thing you should do is subtract 3 from both sides. You would get 2x squared is equal to 18. Then what you want to do is divide by 2 on both sides, and you would get x squared is equal to 9. The last step is just like what we did on the left, square root, and x is equal to 3. Well, that's really odd, just what we had before. If you want to do a check, you can. We have 2 times 3 squared plus 3 should be equal to 21 if we did this correctly. Then I have 2 times 9 plus 3 should be 21. 18 plus 3, 21 equals 21, and it works. The last thing that I have for you is our daily puzzler. What I want you to do is try this problem. It's not homework. I'm not going to grade it, but let's see how well you understand this concept. And the next time we meet, I will go over the answer to it. I want you to find this.